Go. Okay, 5:30 having arrived, I'm going to call the Select Board meeting of September 20th, 2021 to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get rolling, I'm going to announce that I have to leave at 6:45 this evening, so the rest of the board will be handling whatever budgets we don't get through this evening, but I just wanted to throw that out there ahead of time. That said, our first order of business on the agenda is Mr. Cross, and I believe both Mr. Crosses are here with us this evening, and the microphone is yours.
I had sent an email communication about having an opportunity for a non-public meeting.
Okay, we have a very specific set of criteria that we have to use for non-public, so what would be the reason that we would want to do this in non-public?
For the purposes of considering legal actions based on what has been going on and transpiring with that particular roadway.
Okay, that probably is not a reason that we can enter into non-public. Typically, if it is confidential legal information being offered to the town by our attorney, or if it's for the purchase of a piece of land, or if it would affect the reputation of somebody other than us, we can go into non-public for those, but just possible legal action is not something that we would go into non-public to discuss.
Okay, that wasn't my understanding. Not to say that I'm 100% correct on that, but I did think that fit the criteria that was in the RSA.
Yeah, the RSA does indeed list L, which is for consideration of legal advice by this board, but we would typically go into non-public if we were going to receive sensitive information about defending the town, that type of thing, not just threatened or impending legal action.
Then obviously you're not going to want to meet in a non-public situation. So at this point, I don't have any more to say.
Okay.
If you aren't going to meet with me.
We can certainly meet with you, but I think the board would prefer to do it in public rather than non-public, and I don't believe this actually fits the criteria of going into a non-public meeting under RSA 91A32.
Will you consider another RSA then?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, we are going to continue with the 2022 budget review. First up is, well, before we get to that, Mr. Shute, are you here to help with the Parks and Rec budget, or did you have another matter you wish to discuss with the board?
A separate matter with the board.
Okay, if the board doesn't mind, I would recognize Mr. Shute at this time.
Definitely.
I think we've got a copy of the matter, or a plan for the matter, which Mr. Shute wishes to address.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Shute, Pleasant Hill Road. I'm here on behalf of the Parks and Rec skating rink project. That last year we purchased a skating rink and we had it constructed over at Hartford Brook because it was the only flat piece of ground we could find. We would like to have it over at the gazebo for a lot of reasons. It's closer to center of town. There's better water source for taking care of it. So what we've done is, with the help of Jason Franklin from Franklin Associates, we surveyed the area, and that's the plot you have in front of you. And what we'd like to do is level out an area 100 feet by 100 feet. This would leave the area where the two drains are existing and the chicken pit is, and we'd have 75 plus feet of grass area in front of the gazebo. The material that we're looking to do is probably some kind of a gravel material so that it's flat and the rink can sit on it, and then we can use it for other things. We could set up cornhole on it, we could do horseshoe pits, we can do volleyball, stuff like that. It'd be more of a multi-purpose area. We didn't want to put the rink back on grass because it basically will ruin the grass that we put on it. So that's kind of why we didn't want to loam and seed the area. So this, what you have in front of you is the proposed area, and we have people in town have offered to do the work. There's no cost to the town. We are fundraising right now to purchase a new liner for the rink. The rink is 44 by 88, so that's why we're going 100 by 100. We also have a second rink that was donated. It's roughly 30 by 60. So we were thinking we could do 2 rinks there, small one and a larger one. So wanted to bring it before you guys, let's see what you thought.
Dick?
Jeff, would this stay put up as far as the perimeter boards and that year-round?
No, we take it down, put it up in November and take it down in April, so,
It would be a rakeable service,
yeah.
sounds like a good idea.
Cindy?
Is this adding to Hartford Brook? This will be the third ring, or is it
Nothing to do
bringing
with,
Hartford Brook here?
nothing to do with Hartford Brook.
Bringing Hartford
It's
Brook.
bringing the rink here.
Okay,
It's moving it to the gazebo rather than Hartford Brook.
yeah, okay.
Fred?
So would you be cutting that into that ridge that runs off the gazebo?
Yeah, the idea would be to help, to flatten that out a little bit and use that fill to fill in. It's not a lot, I think it's only a foot or foot and a half that we're looking at really playing with.
Yeah, it looks pretty flat there, yeah.
We were gonna try to get all the way to the road, but I don't want to deal with those 2 drains that are existing, except we're gonna try to create a swale so they actually drain better
Mm-hmm.
to that spot.
Yep.
But we'll keep the pit where it is. So that's kind of where we're at.
I guess the one thing I would say, I almost feel like, even though it wouldn't be required, that we need to have a public hearing on this. This is the only central green space in town, and for some reason, I had it in my head that we were gonna move the rink and set it up on grass and reseed it, and when the rink was gone, we'd still have green space. And I'm concerned that there's gonna be some community kickback if we take the large green field in front of the gazebo and turn it into hardened flat gravel. And I think, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I almost, there's no timeline requirement, 30 days or anything for doing it, but I almost think we should have a public hearing and invite people to comment. And, if everyone's in favor of doing it, by all means, do it. But if there's significant pushback over the removal of the grass, I think that's something the town should have a say in.
I mean, we can look at leveling it out and reseeding it, but I won't, if the rink goes on it, there's no guarantee the grass is
It'll
gonna grow
grow,
back. So,
How much time does it take for the hearing?
We could schedule a public hearing after our next public hearing. There's no legal requirement for it, so we can do it at our
Next
pleasure.
Monday, we could have a long-
Public hearing, I would go minimum 7 days' notice.
we do have one next Monday, correct?
We do.
You want to try the following Monday?
Yeah.
We could do that, yeah.
Is
They
14 days going to kill anything, Jeff?
no, I mean, at this point, no, I mean, I've been trying to get this done since December, so I would just like to know that we're gonna put the rink there before November 1st would be the, we gotta start thinking about when we set it up and get it ready.
Yep, okay.
Andy,
Yes, Cindy?
how far away is this from that tank that we're working on
The tank's way up on the corner, isn't it?
up here?
Yeah, up, yes.
Or it says shed,
Yeah, and manhole.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think anyone's against the skating rink and having it centrally located, but I have already heard some grumbling about, what do you mean you're turning it into basically a parking lot when it's been beautiful grass and that's why the town bought it? And
Well, it's fine, like I said, if we have to, we can try to level it out and put loam and seed on it and see what happens.
Okay,
I mean, unless you don't want the rink there, I mean, it's just a lot of good reasons to have the rink in that area, so,
definitely.
no, I think it's a good central location for the rink.
okay. So you'll have a hearing on,
What?
That will be October 1st or
No,
2nd or 4th?
Fourth.
October 4th?
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, moving into our regular 2022 budget review. The first item we have is the planning board, which we are going to waive this evening. The planning board has not finalized the budget, is my understanding, Fred.
That's correct.
Okay, so we can move to the zoning board. And, where's my glasses? We've got a zoning board budget request for the 2022 year of $4,366. And that is a $980 increase from the prior year.
Could you give us the page, please?
Sure, that is page 18. And the backup material gives the listings of where the budget has gone up. They want to give their recording secretary a raise, a 50-cent raise. Charges are fairly straightforward. That's the primary
That's basically it.
increase. That's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the board's pleasure is.
Motion to approve the budget.
Second?
Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, John. Moving on to government buildings, that would be page 20, and I would thank the town administrator for getting these in numerical page order for us, so we can just flip through them. We have a budget request for the 2022 year in the amount of $108,715 for government buildings, and we've got the backup information here. You can see what the increases are and how this breaks down. We have Ray with us if people have specific questions.
Ray, we're showing a increase of about $1,100 on the mileage.
Right. I use my own vehicle for the town,
Mm-hmm.
so I get paid mileage for that.
Okay.
In the past, I guess Mark had his own vehicle when he was fire chief, and so he didn't use his vehicle, but
Okay.
I'm using my own vehicle.
Yep.
Other discussion?
So we're at the 108,715.
Yes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, we've got a second by Cindy. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the George B. White Building, that being page 21. We've got a 2022 request in the amount of $101,359. That is a 9.67% increase.
Most of the increase is the prices of the oil,
I see water testing went up a little and the
water
oil.
testing also.
Questions for Ray?
Nothing we can control as far as an increase. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Which will move us on to the town hall. Which is page 22, and we have a requested town hall budget in the amount of $33,952. Obviously, the primary increase here is sprinkler system maintenance, and also we've got an increase in the oil price. Rubbish collection went down.
So
'Cause we're not
the
collecting it.
painting of it was under the government buildings, not here.
Correct.
So is that scheduled this year, Ray, to get?
The painting? No, because the town hall's been closed, so we didn't feel we'd spend the money this summer.
Okay.
The painting request has gone into every budget we've presented. It just has not been voted in.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve?
Is there a second?
Yes.
We've got a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion.
I have a
Cindy?
question about the RB Lewis. I mean, we're paying them $3,000 for the town hall, and then more money for this building? What is our complete RB Lewis contract?
Probably be the combination.
RB
of the
Lewis does
charging-
the inspections for the, all the buildings in the town as far as the exits, and make sure everything is correct. Make sure all the fire extinguishers are charged. They do that. They also check the fire alarm systems, and they also run the alarm system itself, which used to be under Paul.
Right, but I'm just wondering, and we were paying them $3,000 just for the town hall.
That's for maintenance of the sprinkler system in the,
What are we paying them for the George B. White building?
I think it's under contracts. Let me see.
It's under contract, but it's not broke down. Well, 17,000.
That includes the cleaning contract as well and any other contract services we have.
Okay,
That's not just RB Lewis.
right?
Do we ever get to the bottom of this tank
I'm
leaking?
asking, what's RB Lewis's contract for the town?
When the original proposal was put to the board to change from Skycom to RB Lewis, the cost was negligible for the maintenance and the alarm maintaining for day-to-day alarms. That the price for RB Lewis also includes the inspection of all the fire extinguishers, the yearly testing of all the system, which was broken up. For a price I don't have with me tonight, Cindy, I can get it to you.
Can we put this on hold till next week and get that number, because it's big.
Is the board's preference to hold off on the town hall budget until we have the total RB Lewis contract?
Sure.
Okay, if everyone's in agreement, we will hold the town hall budget then. Which brings us to the police department, which is on page 30, and we do have the police chief with us this evening. And let me make sure I've got the total here. The total requested 2022 budget looks to be $879,847. If you go through the backup, there's a few things in there that are up. State retirement is changing again, our contribution to, which I know adds $30,000 or $40,000 to that. But microphone's yours, chief.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as usual, there's a couple things that account for that. The salary lines, for starters, based on the pay scale that we put in place, accounts for a large part of that. Of course, when, that also increases the median rate, shift differential, holiday pay, and overtime rates as well. And yeah, the other big part of that is the retirement line went up substantially, which we don't really have any control over. Other than that, it stayed pretty much the same with the exception of a couple things. There's a decrease in the contract line of $5,700 because we shifted some of our maintenance costs over to the county when we upgraded our computer-aided dispatch system, our records management system. We had to add $4,400 into our gas line. They reset the price townwide this year. I think we were at $2.29 or $2.39 a gallon, and we bumped that up to $2.99 a gallon. Other than that, I added more money into the cruiser line as well because the amount that's been in there for more years than I can remember is just simply not enough to purchase and outfit a car. And that's really the only changes in the budget. Everything else stayed the same.
So that 42 covers you, chief, to fit one and buy one?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, it should,
42,000.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the chief?
Motion to approve the $879,847 budget.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Do you want to, do you want to hit the ACO and the highway safety? It'll take like 2 seconds.
Sure, we can.
You might have to go backwards, though,
No?
while I'm
No.
sitting here.
We can certainly do that.
They're on a roll.
Let's
We-
start with the ACO, and that is on page 62. And we have a requested budget in the amount of $8,099. And you can see that the two lines where there is an increase in the budget are the vehicle lines, because we now.
Exactly, it all stayed the same, except, she's got the vehicle now, so we had put in $1,897, $1,000 for maintenance, tires, things like that, and then the other, close to 900 was for fuel purchase. Other than that, everything stayed the same.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Are you abstaining,
I'm
Cindy?
abstaining.
Okay. The animal control officer will abstain from the vote, so noted. And then highway safety is on page 41.
Yeah, no change on that either. We just keep the dollar in there to keep it alive. We haven't used it in a couple of years.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. There's not much to discuss. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of that. And I would thank you for being with us, Chief.
Yeah, so thank you.
Back to our regular schedule, we can move to the transfer station. I think we're on the transfer station. No, building department first on page 39. And we have a building inspection requested budget in the amount of $64,494 for the 2022 year, and this shows an increase of $12,388. And that would be for a requested addition of a part-time employee. I believe this is an administrative assistant that the building inspector is looking for. And the building here he is. You could take the mic, Mr. Pelletier, and I had just noted that it appears that the major increase in the budget is a request for a part-time employee, and I assume this is administrative assistance.
Is this the transfer station, or?
This is building inspection.
Okay, yeah, well, my thought was before I left, if we could get someone in here, we could transition more smoothly. It would probably be a one-time expense.
Mhm.
And it's really at the point where could use some clerical help in the office.
So would you envision this as being a new position or trying to utilize someone that we've already got?
Well, we don't have much of anybody right now. That might be a little difficult. It would probably be a new position. And then with my departure, depending on what happens from that point, whether you maintain a full-time building inspector or you split up some of the other duties, you could adjust it accordingly.
I thought we had Randy helping him down there. How
She
is
is.
that working?
She's in there every day.
Who's that, Randy?
Hmm.
Yeah, she's been there every day now. We've got pretty much almost all the file cabinets complete. And we're gonna start on the piles. We actually may end up adding a couple more cabinets. There's that much paperwork. And there's definitely not gonna be enough room. And I think there's 7 files there now. Pretty sure we're gonna need at least one more, maybe 2.
Which budget is she coming out of?
She's out of the town administrator budget, under the admin assistant. She's currently working down in Rick's office right now to help him get his paperwork caught up.
Would you envision her providing assistance, at least part-time anyways, on,
During certain parts of the year, she has other duties, but right now, she's free to do that.
That's great.
So, other questions for the building inspector?
So once everything's all caught up, you still think they would need a part-time clerical down there?
I guess it's gonna depend on what you people decide to do upon my departure. I mean, not that I'm speaking for Jane, but, I mean, given Jane's age and so forth, I don't know how much longer Jane is gonna be here as well. And she says it sometimes too, that she's doesn't know how much longer she will be here. I mean, she hasn't said she's leaving, but, I mean, I can envision that if Jane were to go, the clerk could do all three positions: zoning, planning, and assisting the building department, because they're all very, very much intertwined and interrelated. And I mean, Jane and I consult regularly on many matters, including even when she's not here. I often call her a few times a day at home, or she calls me looking for information. I mean, they just are related, and there's no way to really separate them out per se. I think it would make a lot of sense down the road. And that's why I had made a recommendation to John, that something to think about as we get closer to me leaving. As it stands now, my drop-down dead date, I've spoken with Social Security and New Hampshire Retirement. My drop-dead date is going to be June 30th. I'm going to wait for my next birthday based on their input. Okay, and I might leave a little bit sooner, but probably not, because I have to give them 90 days' notice.
Can we
Dick?
okay this and then discuss it more as
So,
far as the part-time?
yeah. So if you put it in the budget, again, it probably wouldn't be something you would need to do till after the first of the year, or someplace a little bit past the first of the year.
Yeah, we can do one of two things. We can table it until we discuss further, or we could pass it and adjust it as we decide.
Well,
what
if we pass it and adjust it, it's in there. And then I
Yes.
definitely want to discuss it more, because I didn't know about Rick staying through June, which is,
Yeah, I got the word from the
Don't
chief.
leave us.
yeah, right.
yeah, no, it's not a problem.
You just don't want to go.
Well, if that's what we want to do, we'd need a motion, and we can.
I'll make a motion to approve it, subject to us discussing it more about the part-time help.
Second?
We've got a motion and a second. Further discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, appears to be unanimous, John. And then we will move to the transfer station, which is page 56. And let me make sure I get to the actual total for the transfer station, because there's three parts of this. Four parts of it. So what is the total bottom line on this?
They're all separate budget lines, so you'll have to take
Okay.
the administration separately.
We've got the administration, which are our employees, full-time and part-time, and the 2022 requested administration budget for the transfer station is $80,943.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion. There is a breakdown of the hours and the employees
Right.
in the backup. There's no further discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to solid waste collection. We have a requested budget amount of $42,625, which is down 1.6% from the prior year. And we would need a motion for that.
So moved.
Can't find it yet.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And moving to solid waste
You gotta
disposal.
vote on it, Andy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Those in favor?
Aye.
Appears to be unanimous, John. And moving to the disposal charges, and this includes recyclables and things we have to pay for, tires, oil, refrigerators, that sort of thing. We have a requested line amount of $292,900. This is up considerably from the prior year, and I'm assuming that this has a lot to do with what we are seeing happen with recyclables.
It's still dealing with contract obligations that we have with most of these vendors. I mean, unless we completely change the way we do things, we're gonna be stuck with that for a while. I mean, I've talked in the past about having our own truck and doing more of our own hauling and things of that nature. But obviously, that's not gonna happen tomorrow. And that requires considerable amount of funding. I mean, a building or a different type of structure to completely cover our waste. Every time it rains or anything like that happens, any of our recyclables, we immediately get dinged with a deduction if they feel the moisture content is too high. Now, I don't know how they measure the moisture content, but if they feel the moisture content's high, they deduct from the weight a percentage, and it's not in our favor. You know, I think I've spoken about it in the past.
Yeah.
The more efficient transfer stations bale everything into cubes, and they store the bales at the facilities indoor, because if you bale, a lot of the recycling vendors will actually pick the product up themselves, but they want full trailer loads. So we're talking 60,000, 70,000 pounds of paper, cardboard, aluminum, plastics. I mean, you can make roughly a 2,000-pound bale of plastic, roughly 4 feet by 3 feet by 6 feet, and it'll weigh 2,000 pounds. I have a 40-yard dumpster. We're lucky if we can put 2,000 pounds of plastic in it, because it's like a big sponge. You compress it, you retract the ram, it all comes back. Okay, but in order to get rid of full loads, you have to store all those bales. Pittsfield has a large facility, all indoors, and they're hooked up with a number of communities up in that area, and they take in everybody's bales and so forth, and they sell them as a group, so they can push more product at a faster rate. Some other towns do it on their own. But, I mean, those are the ins and outs of the industry. But, you know, I have no clue what a building would cost. I did visit a building recently. Their building is 1 by 150. Everything's indoors. You drive in, set up similar to ours. They have retaining wall, and they throw the product over the wall, but they don't have bins. They just have it divided up with concrete barriers, and they've got lines painted, and they know that in this bin, when the rubbish is up to this line, they take it out with a bobcat, and they put it in the baler, and they make a bale and stack the bale in the corner. Pittsfield does a very similar thing. Dairy operates the same way. I've not been to that many facilities, but there's a number of facilities that do operate that way.
So,
Motion to approve the budget.
Second.
okay, we've got a motion for the
Question?
292,900. Yes, further discussion?
I see we have an increase in the electronics disposal. Is the $10 that we charge, is that, we're looking to increase that, or what?
Well, I was once told that those prices were fixed and that I couldn't change those prices.
Ah,
Typically, the board sets the prices, but we certainly could upon.
I mean,
advice
there's
of-
probably some stuff we could. I mean, most of the stuff we pay for by the pound. The TVs are probably the kickers that we're definitely probably running in the negative with televisions. But those are really going downhill now. You know, the big screen, mama bears are gone, and the big tube TVs, we're seeing fewer and fewer of those. So I don't know as we're taking as big of a hit on that. Unfortunately, I don't have a count on exact types of TVs, other than I know that I very seldom see a 37-inch picture tube TV in the bins anymore, or one of those Chester drawer TVs that's the size of 3 men.
Is that something you give us a recommendation on, as far as whether we should be increasing that from $10 to something?
I can look into it a little bit further. I can check around, see what other people are charging.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to get ourselves in a position where we suddenly have electronics sprouting up in the woods.
Oh, right.
Well, unfortunately, that is the flip side, because we still have a few residents we still have a percentage of residents that come in and cry about the cost of that stuff. And then the next thing I know, I get a call from the highway department or something like that, or they come in and they picked up some of this and some of that they picked up on the side of the road, and you immediately know that must have been somebody that was unhappy when we told them there was a fee.
Okay, so
It looks like the same thing with the tires too, right?
Yeah, well, they're not as bad. For some reason or other, I think what you'll find is a lot of the tire shops get $5 to keep the tires. And we're at $3. So I think it's gotten,
Well, this is increased too, is what I'm asking.
what's that, Cindy?
The tire line is
Yeah, we
increased.
did increase it only because we're disposing of more tires. But as far as a cost per tire, it's actually cheaper to bring your tires to us right now than it is to have your tires done at somebody like some of the auto places and so forth, because they've automatically got a price built in to their selling price for disposing of tires. So, if you realize what that fee is, it's probably cheaper to have them put it in your trunk and take them here.
Further questions? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And let me get to the last, I think there's one more section here. Nope, that was it, that was the final.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Don't have a total for, we'll need I can certainly add it up, I guess, but we're gonna need an overall total for the budget committee too, because they're not gonna be happy with
3 different.
4 parts of the transfer station budget. And we did animal control, we've got Parks and Rec was our final budget, and that is page 68. Take my glasses back off. Nick is with us. Give me just a second, Nick. There it is. Okay, and the town portion of the Parks and Rec budget includes the full-time employee line and an additional amount for maintenance and activities at Gazebo Field and Old Home Day, as those particular venues don't generate any of the fees that go into the rolling fund. So the budget request for 2022 is $102,503. I think the primary difference is looking for the assistant director's salary in here.
Is that under the full-time line?
It is.
So
And the breakdown on the back out, you've got the director and the assistant director, as we've had in the, but this is a request to have all of it come out of the town budget as opposed to the revolving fund.
Currently, right now, the assistant director's full-time salary is 50, the 80 fund, and 50 the budget. But what we learned last year is we ended up losing a full-time employee with the program shutting down, and no revenue was coming into the 80 fund, and we couldn't sustain paying that full-time person out of the budget. And my feeling is if we're going to offer a full-time position with benefits in the town, then we need to make sure that we've got adequate funding to pay for that person.
Well, it's been a crazy year. So
And funding that increases this by, what? Oh, I'm having difficulty understanding if it increases, if we did 50/50 last year, and we're doing 100% this year, how come the line only went up 27,000? Oh, because that's the half.
That's the half that was covered by the 80 fund.
Okay.
That makes sense.
What's the 3,300 go for on Old Home Day?
So that can go toward everything from fireworks to the band. It's the expenses for Old Home Day accumulate pretty quickly. Other events, if we bring in entertainment, anything throughout the day, there's quite a bit of different things it goes toward.
And we'd added those two lines because Old Home Day doesn't, there's no registration fee for it, so it doesn't generate funding the way the other Parks and Rec activities generally do.
Motion to approve 102-503.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Appears to be unanimous, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
Okay.
Total for the transfer station, 416, 468.
Thank you, Fred.
That's for all three
Yeah.
of those separate budgets.
Yep.
Gee, that worked out well tonight, have them in order.
Thank you, Cindy.
No, thank you.
Okay, we have outstanding minutes from September 7th.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion? Corrections? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have, buried somewhere in here, an accounts payable manifest in the amount of $90,832.74.
Motion to approve, and I have a question.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, Dick.
How can we get a clearer idea? It's like 37,000 was on a credit card, and is it without any breakout other than IT, PD?
You mean, what is it emailed to you for the breakout? I can have, there is a cover sheet.
I don't want to
That-
make more work for Pete, but it
No,
seems-
that's, I think to answer your question, the easiest thing to do would be include the cover sheet to the credit card breakdown. So you'll see the total price in the expense manifest, and then the cover sheet, which will break it down into individual charges.
like, it's not usually anywhere near 37,000, that's what, and I know it said IT.
Pete has looked for every conceivable way to charge our expenses on the card, because we do get a % back, which will
Okay.
add up at the end of the year. That's why you've seen that bill increase over the months. He was able to charge all of our waste disposal for Casella and Wheelabrator, which are pretty substantial charges.
We could get a copy of that.
Yep, I will make a note.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we do have a pretty complete breakdown of it
Yep.
in here.
Right, and I can have him include that sheet with it.
Okay.
Other questions or concerns? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have a payroll manifest with a gross of $83,407.72, which nets out at $53,664.77.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
set?
Yep.
Okay, in the signature file, we have two items from assessing. The first is timber tax levy in the amount of $488.52 to be levied against Anthony and Catherine Brock of Middle Road, and we do have the yield certification form on the front.
Motion to collect?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Two arrows on that. We also have notice of intent to cut, and this is from Roscoe and Kathleen Blaisdell. And this is for a small quarter-acre parcel of land adjacent to a cut that the Blaisdells currently have under operation on Mountain Road. But there is some question of ownership of the parcel. This is adjacent to the power line and between two parcels of property. And our assessing clerk, Christine Robert, is recommending that we deny the intent to cut at this time until ownership is truly
Okay.
discovered.
So we don't need a motion to deny.
We don't. We would just leave it.
I thought this was a neighborhood, what, is this the land that's supposed to be owned by public service?
No, I believe
Okay.
this is between two neighbors, actually.
This is between the Quarter for Public Service and a privately held parcel. There's a small triangle of land, and it's currently in dispute as to who owns the land.
Okay.
And I would assume that the Blaisdells are not, interested in cutting it before ownership is established, given the doomage charges that they might well see if they ended up not being the owner. But just to be on the safe side, I think if we don't sign the intent to cut until we've got ownership. Okay. We also have, we've got, these are the society trust funds. And I have a cheat sheet, so I don't have to read through them. These are agreements prepared by the New Hampshire Department of Justice Charitable Trust Unit, and the three scholarship funds or trust funds in question, and these are basically amendments to clarify and clean up language in these specific agreements we have for these charitable trusts. The trusts are the Gentleman Joe Brown Scholarship Fund, and there's a language amendment, changing the language from provide a scholarship to a young man who exhibits manners, respect, and thoughtfulness to provide a $400 scholarship to a student, basically making it eligible for a boy or girl in official language. The Joseph Smith Carter Memorial Christmas Fund, this has an amendment under the direction of Mary Ellen Carter or her designee. And Mary Ellen Carter no longer resides in the town of Deerfield, so they're recommending to change it to under the direction of the welfare administrator for the town of Deerfield.
Good idea.
And the Free Will Baptist Society Trust Fund, currently, they're recommending an amendment to add, the Free Will Baptist Society Trust shall be terminated pursuant to RSA 564B4-410, A, and the balance of the trust shall be distributed in equal shares to the Deerfield Community Church and the Deerfield Bible Church. And each of these will require a motion to amend in keeping with the Department of Justice's recommendations.
One for all three that you read, or?
We can certainly do that. If Dick is making a motion to amend the Gentleman Joe Brown Scholarship Fund, the Joseph Smith Carter Memorial Christmas Fund, and the Free Will Baptist Society Trust Fund.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second for all three. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of amending?
Aye.
Okay. Putting these on, they keep flogging right back up. And there's a spot for us to sign, and there's a spot for the trustees of the trust fund to sign as well. Whoever put these together used the expensive paper.
Top billing.
Ooh. It's the last one. Okay, next in the signature file, we have an agreement between the Board of Directors of the Deerfield Fair Association and Deerfield Fire and Rescue, and I believe this has been agreed to and requires the Select Board signatures and a motion. The total estimated cost of fire and rescue at the fair this year is coming in at $47,000.65.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion?
Cindy's abstaining.
Okay.
Being a director.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
And we have one abstention. Okay, and staying on the theme of fire and rescue, we have a personnel action request, and this is for a gentleman named either Todd Dignard or Todd Dignard, and I apologize for how I may have mispronounced that, but this is essentially a new hire for an on-call firefighter EMR, adding a name to the list, and the amount that is being requested is $17 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. And this calls for one signature from the chair. Those in
Make that part
favor?
of the motion.
Okay, thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we have a second personnel action request, and this is from the library trustees. They are looking to increase the salary of part-time employee Ann Myers from $13.97 per hour to $15.59 per hour. And this is a part-time position.
Motion approved and signed by the chairman.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
And last but not least, we have the MS 434, which is our revised estimated revenues, which we turn in September. And our total revised estimated revenues and credits are coming in at $1,940,800. And we would need a motion to accept this and move this along to the Department of Revenue Administration.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. I would note that this too requires just one signature. So if there's no further discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That takes care of the signatures. Moving on to correspondence, we have a letter from George Thompson. Still, basically, he's thanking us for updating our minutes per his letter. It still appears necessary for me to affirm to the board that on 8/30/21, I sent an email to John Harrington attaching my letter to the board of the same date. These pertain solely to the trench across Thurston Pond Ridge Road. They did not state anything regarding the dam or the outlet or the pond or debris accumulating at this location. And I thought we had taken care of that in the correction. Apparently, Mr. Thompson just wants to reaffirm what he said, which we can take
Good
an
to have it on
advisement and keep
file.
on file. And let's see. We also have the letter from Maura and Brian Adams that they had sent to us as well. And I think everyone had seen that. It's been in the file and there were email copies. And we have information from DOT. We have Ted Gatsis's Executive Council report and some other general information, including planning board minutes in the correspondence file. This time, I would look to the town administrator for his report.
There was a question at our last meeting over the New Hampshire Municipal Association fees. And after contacting them, they indicated that that was based on 2019 data, which is what they had at the time when they billed us. If there's no further questions on that, I'll move on.
I think that was Alden's question, actually.
I do think that I might hold that over. There was also a question when Rick Druckenmiller was presenting his budget on the cemetery. The 2021 cemetery tree removal line has not been used in 2021. The cost for the tree removal at Parade Cemetery were actually billed against the 2020 budget. That's why that line had not been spent this year. You do have a new cemetery budget page and a new total page in your folder to be added in to your budgets, just to point that out. An update on the sprinkler tank work. RB Lewis was out last week where they attempted to open up the top of the tank. Unfortunately, all of the bolts, 40-plus bolts, were rusted. They had to be ground off. They will be replacing them with all new bolts. It's currently secured by 4 new ones. And they were also able to install a locking mechanism on the top lid. When they arrived, we found it open. Someone had left the lid off, and my concern has been having that not secured. It poses a hazard and a liability, so they were able to put locks on it. There's a key to that in the...
So who was in it? Who?
We do not know. That cover can just be pulled off like a garbage pail lid at this time. So there are now locks on it. The fire department has keys to it, so that if there's ever a need to get into it, they can. Once, I did hear from Tim Pappas from RB Lewis. They were in touch with their tank inspector. They're looking for about a week out to begin the process. Once I have a firm date, I'll share it with the board. The day before the inspector arrives, they'll be pumping the tank dry to allow entry into the tank. And during this whole time, Town Hall will be off limits to any people inside the building while this is going on until it's refilled and the sprinkler system's put back online. On that same subject, during my entire presentation on this inspection process, the board had never voted to allow the expenditure to be charged against the building trust fund, which is where I would look to pay for this. At the time, the estimated cost is about $5,800. If I could get a vote this evening that when the bills start coming in to use that fund.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Well, 5,800,
That's the estimate,
okay,
5,800.
thank you.
Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I would like the board's approval to schedule a public hearing for, we had a request to remove some trees on Harvey Road, which is a scenic road. Eversource Utility sent in documents that they would like to remove trees. I have that scheduled for October 4th, Monday. So if
Do that in the skating rink,
we could do back-to-back public hearings,
beautiful.
Great. Sounds like a good idea to me.
okay?
Now, is it the intent there to have a hearing in addition to the planning board hearing?
Do you have a scheduled planning board hearing for that?
No, not at this point.
No, this would just be the Board of Selectmen's public hearing.
The removal of trees on a scenic road falls under the planning board.
Okay?
So we could have I guess we could have a joint meeting, which we could have a hearing and have members of the planning board present.
Well, I think if it should be a planning board hearing, then it probably should be. I think the only concern that I have as a selectman is we don't go through what we
Oh, yeah.
did last time. We did something on Harvey Road, so
Mhm.
I don't know that the Board of Selectmen wants any direct input that the planning board should have. We just want to make sure somebody has the hearing.
Right.
So I'll wait on this and let the planning board hold a public hearing on this?
Yeah, and then I guess the question would end up being any other work on the road would be taking place beyond the simply removing of the trees.
It's from Eversource, so I
The-
suspect that they're
okay.
just looking for tree removal and
Right.
not.
From what I understand, there are 2 poles that are in a state of decay that need to be removed.
Mhm.
And once they remove them, the poles and lines right now are right in the trees. So before they put up new poles, they want to cut the trees back.
Okay.
I do have the documentation which I can pass on to Jane for the planning board's use.
Right.
Okay.
I guess the only concern I ended up having is if the road agent was going to be doing some work out there in addition to the tree removal, then I think it would be appropriate for the Board of Selectmen to have a separate hearing as well. But if it's only trees, then it falls under the planning board for light removal of the trees.
I will pass that on to Jane.
Okay.
That's good. One less public hearing for us. One more.
And the last item I had is I did include a sample request for proposal, which was found by Fred for your review. This was a sample to take a look at for any potential RFP for a design-build project for the police department. And that's it for me this evening.
And if I could,
Yeah, Fred.
the information we had received with regard to the Farmington RFP certainly pales in comparison to the extent that this RFP for design-build was, and this was only for a, what was it, a $700,000 job or something, so it would, so I think what we need to do is to put some more effort, not necessarily following this exactly, but using this as a guide to, as far as the level of detail we should be asking for contractors.
Okay,
That's
so
it for me this
That's it for
evening.
town
Yep.
administrator. Okay, moving into unfinished new or other business, one thing I want to mention before I leave is that I was approached by Jeannie Menard regarding the memorial service that's coming up for Jim Tomlinson. And they have some interest, and I believe they've talked to Ray and they've talked to John about using Gazebo Field as an overflow area if they need it for people after the service. Jeannie had asked me if the board would consider allowing them to use the bathrooms in Town Hall. Both John and I had said that technically the Town Hall is closed. She said it would be wonderful and easier for them if they could use the bathrooms in Town Hall. If they can't use the bathrooms in Town Hall, they will bring in porta potties and set them up. But I did tell her that I'd bring it before the board to see what the board's thoughts on it were.
I have no objection to using the bathrooms in the town hall.
Anybody ask Ray?
I don't know if they've asked Ray. Jeannie came in and talked to me.
I believe she did talk to Ray today.
Okay.
And what was his, did he have any concerns opening up?
And not that he expressed to me. Obviously, we'll have to clean it after it's used. Or in speaking with Jeannie, I can see if possibly, you know.
We would have to bring over supplies. There's nothing over there right now.
I
I think
guess-
as long as they cleaned it afterwards, it's not a problem.
They don't want to use the kitchen, they don't want the inside space, they were just looking for added bathrooms if they needed it. So the board's general thought that we would let them use the bathrooms?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I can pass that along to Jeannie. I think that was the primary other new business I had. I would note that Jim's service is this Saturday.
Saturday.
And it will be at the Deerfield Community Church, and it's going to be held outside in the parking area behind the church. Any other new business or additional business? Fred?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have we all have a copy of a plan that has been presented to the planning board, and this is a proposed subdivision by Mr. Cross on Range Road. And one of the issues, or the major issue that came up in the public hearing we had with Mr. Cross was the fact that he is claiming on this plan ownership to the center line of Ridge Road. And the planning board had some concerns with regard to approving this plan, because in effect, the board would be agreeing that Mr. Cross owned to the center line of Ridge Road. And considering the fact that this is up in the air, as far as ownership is concerned, the board felt that we should contact town council to provide an opinion as to whether or not we should be making this, basically ratifying this claim by Mr. Cross. And so I mentioned to John about this, and John suggested I bring this before the board as to whether we should pass it on to town council or whether we should sit on it at this point.
I think we should pass it on to town council, but
I think we definitely need to sit on it and then decide what to do. And we're right in the middle of we've been doing this homework.
right, and I will say, and I will share this I'll share the book and page number with Mr. Cross, but I was able, thanks to a kind citizen, to get referred to the Arthur and Marion Baker plan, which is dated February 1981. It's tax book 1675, page 5. It was done by David Sidmore, and it clearly identifies Thurston Pond Road and Ridge Road as Class 6 roads. Shows the property lines and bounds at the stone walls on the side of those properties. And this, as I said, was dated February 1981. It was 10 years before the discussion was picked back up by the Board of Selectmen about whether to relay out. So to my mind, it seems very clear, and pretty much every plot plan I've looked at on these roads, with the exception of Mr. Cross's, shows the bounds being the stone walls on the side of the road and the roadway intact. As I said, I'm not sure how far, looks like Mr. Cross's goes for 300 feet, 107 plus 220 on that measurement. His is the only plot plan that shows that road being owned by abutters, and I find it really hard to believe that over a mile of road is recognized as discontinued by everyone else, but the last few hundred feet of it aren't.
So how do we put this on hold where we have a hearing coming up?
Well, I think we can ask the planning board to
Not hear it?
to not hear this until,
But we're in the middle of, we accepted the plan, so, and the board has 65 days to take action
Okay.
on any plan that comes before it, and.
and our hearing is the 27th.
Yeah, next Monday.
Yeah, so we'll have
Yeah, so
time to.
there's plenty of time, as far as the 65 days that the planning board has, so.
Okay. So if we want to put this on hold, we'll have to make a decision about the status of the road.
Okay.
Thank you, Fred.
Excuse me, Andy, am I taking any action with this at this point, or no?
No, I think we're going to move.
Well,
to-
maybe if we had a vote by the board, just to requesting the planning board to hold action on this.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Okay, other new business or other business?
Do you want some correspondence to the planning board regarding this vote?
Yes, if you
Okay.
could, just
Yep.
note that the motion was,
Yeah, we have a meeting Wednesday night. Mr. Cross is, this particular project is coming before the board again.
this Wednesday. Should be able
You
to-
all right time-wise?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave in about 4 minutes, but, and actually, this might be a good time for me to leave if we're including new business.
Done with that, we'll just do citizens' comments.
All right, if you can take over for me, Dick, I would appreciate that.
Any citizens' comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
We have a,
Oh, okay, Brian, I didn't see it.
Hi, Brian Adams, Thurston Pond Road. In regard to George Thompson's letter, I installed a water bar on Thurston Pond Road, just up from my driveway, which I am authorized to do by the agreement 40 Thurston Pond has with the town. There's no trench and there's no excavation. There's no water going onto Mr. Thompson's property. I put the water bar there to prevent erosion so that people could still continue to enjoy the Class 6 road. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Mrs. Katie?
Back when Kate was going through all of the research for her building of her home on Thurston Pond Road, that it wasn't a closed, it was a Class 6 road, but it was not closed only by gates and bars. And there's been so much money spent on that. I would think we have all the legal advice and information in the files if we'd go back to planning board minutes then and the legal letters that went back and forth. And I know Joanne Wasson had a whole file, and she told me she gave her file to George Thompson. So to keep spending money on this seems ridiculous when we've done thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars back in the early 90s.
And 80s.
I mean, can't we go back and look at the records of what we've already got?
We have, and it'll be the public hearing next Monday night.
I'm sorry?
There'll be a public hearing next Monday night from all the research.
There'll be a public hearing
Monday night, the 27th,
next Monday night.
yes. Anybody else with citizens' comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6:45 adjournment.